Hi families, I am so glad that you have joined in. Today we are going to be talking about ways to encourage our children to be safe on the internet. This information can be applied to online gaming, cell phones, and tablets as well. So the internet is a wonderful, powerful tool. It provides convenience, it provides connection to others and information right at our fingertips. But the internet can also be very dangerous if it's not used correctly. And kids aren't always aware of those hidden dangers. And so that's why it's important for us as the grown-ups in their lives to teach them how to use this tool safely and responsibly. So why does this matter? This matters because our kids are on the internet a lot. More and more they are using it for things such as schoolwork, and they play their video games online. They go online for entertainment, spending a lot of time on YouTube and things like that. They use the internet for keeping in touch with friends. And because they're online so much, kids really need to be able to identify what is acceptable and unacceptable online content. They also need to know how to behave respectfully online and to avoid online risks. So there are four main kinds of internet risks for kids that we are going to talk about today. Oops, there we go. Okay, let's begin with content risks. These risks include coming across material that your child might find upsetting or disgusting or otherwise uncomfortable, especially if they encounter it accidentally. This might include material such as pornography or any type of sexually explicit content in videos, movies, or online games. This could be real or simulated violence, hate sites, terrorist sites, fake news that seems believable, harmful user-generated content with sites that have information about drug use, self-harm, suicide, or negative body image. So those are some of the content risks. Next we have contact risks. These include coming into contact with adults posing as children online or strangers who persuade our kids to meet up in real life. This also that would include online scammers. The next risk is conduct risks. So conduct risks include behaving in inappropriate or hurtful ways or being the victim of this kind of behavior. So examples of conduct risks include cyberbullying, sexting, misusing people's passwords, or impersonating other people online, making unauthorized purchases, creating content that reveals information about other people, and also can include difficulty regulating online time, which can then develop into over internet use or even an internet addiction. There we go. And then finally, the last one is contract risks. So contract risks include older kids maybe signing up for unfair contracts online. Maybe there's unfair terms or conditions that they aren't fully aware of or they don't fully understand. And as a result of this, then kids might be open to identity theft or fraud. They might get inappropriate digital marketing messages or scam emails. They might have their personal data collected from them from different apps or even fitness devices and trackers like that. And so it's just sometimes those contract risks are ones we don't think about as much, but they can also pose a little bit of a risk and threat to our kids and their information. So tips for protecting our kids from these online safety risks. So we have some different ideas here. The first one is to create a family media plan. This is something that you can do with your child and even ask them for suggestions. Your plan could cover things like certain areas in your house that are to be screen-free, such as maybe when you're around the table together. It might include internet safety rules, like not giving out their personal information. It could include letting your kid know or your child know what programs or what apps are okay and which ones are not okay for them to use. If you'd like help coming up with a family media plan, you can visit the website healthychildren.org, and I will link that website in the video description below. But that website will walk you through the steps of creating a plan that is tailor-made for your own family. Okay, the next tip is to use child-friendly search engines. There's some engines such as Kiddle or Kidtopia, or content providers like ABC Kids or YouTube Kids, or messaging apps like Messenger Kids. So these providers filter out some of the harmful content, some of the overly mature content that general content engines would leave in. And so a way to find some of these is just to Google. So Google kid-friendly search engines, and you can find an extensive list and see which ones would be the best fit for you and your household. And then you can bookmark those for your child to use when they do their own internet searches. The next is to check age appropriateness for the different apps or websites your child is on. You can do this by looking at reviews on a website called Common Sense Media. They kind of let you know what issues, what type of content might show up in some of these apps or websites or movies or shows or games, things like that. Most social media platforms such as Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, TikTok, etc., they pretty much all have a minimum age requirement of 13 years old. So we find a lot of elementary kids who are using these are lying about their age when they set up their accounts. So I know these apps can be pretty popular with our kids, but they were not meant or designed for our elementary age students. We see a lot of kids who are using these apps and who are on these websites, and it can create a lot of extra conflict and drama. These websites and apps were not designed for kids these age, and they don't necessarily have the maturity to be able to handle them in an appropriate and responsible way. And so oftentimes it can create more problems than really it's worth. So if your child is on some of these social media sites, it might be something to talk about with them and how they're being used and if they are being used appropriately. The next is to use the internet with your child, being close by while they are on different websites or different apps. You can do this by maybe having them be in a common area within your home so that you are more aware of what they're doing and what kind of things they're seeing. And that way then you can quickly act if there's something that pops up or shows up. If something that your child becomes concerned or upset by, you're right there to kind of see what's happening, what's going on. And going online with your child then gives you the opportunity to see, again, the content that they are seeing. And then you can share your child's experience while also checking that that content is appropriate for them. And one helpful thing to do is just ask them questions about what they're doing online or what they're looking at or what they're playing. It might sound like, that seems like an interesting game. Can you teach me to play that too? So it's kind of getting in their world, being part of what they're doing and trying to kind of understand what they're seeing and hearing and learning and doing. You can also show your child sites that are fun and interesting and educational and then bookmark them for later. That way they can use those if they need to do any type of internet searching. And then while they're using the internet, they come across different pop-ups while you're online together. It's a good opportunity then for you to talk with your child about not clicking on them. You can explain that pop-up ads can lead to them going to sites with unpleasant things, or the pop-ups can lead towards these other sites getting their personal or financial information. So using the internet with your child might mean that they can only use it in certain places in the house or certain times of day, and it might mean then that they can't really keep it in their bedrooms or they can't charge it in their bedrooms at night. Now I'm talking about phones and tablets. And so that might be Another option, if they do need to charge in their rooms, is you can use the parental controls on these different devices to kind of shut them down after a certain hour so that they can't access the internet on them. And a lot of times if we do have these devices in the bedroom and kids are on them late at night, it also impacts their sleep, so it can become a bigger issue even just for their own physical well-being. So consider not having children charge their devices in their room, or utilizing those parental controls to make sure that the internet part gets shut off or the gaming part gets shut off after a certain time. All right, let's move to the next one. Okay, there we go. The next is to check privacy settings, check those location services, using those parental controls again, like I just mentioned, using those safe search settings, browsers, apps, search engines, things like that. Also limiting the camera and video functions on your either computer or your devices so your child doesn't accidentally take photos or videos of themselves or others. It's a good idea to make sure your child knows not to communicate with people online that they don't know in person. This is particularly important if your child is using the in-game social networks. For example, gaming sites like Roblox and Minecraft, while they are targeted at children, they allow messaging features that might allow strangers to communicate with your child. So it's really important for you to be aware of that, and also if you have the ability to communicate with your child, the importance of not interacting with those people, and maybe even blocking that feature on the game if you have some concerns about that occurring. Encourage your child to tell you if someone they don't know contacts them online, to tell you right away if someone online asks them to meet up with them in person. Make sure they know not to give out their personal information, whether it's through the messaging features when they're talking or even posting things online that would in any way be able to identify who they are or where they live. And also make sure they know to check with you before filling out membership forms on gaming sites, online competitions, entry forms, and so on like that. And make sure they know to ask you before they download a new app so you can show them how to check the privacy settings and to keep their personal information safe. It can be kind of overwhelming. There's so many apps out there. There's so many settings to be aware of, and it's important for us to familiarize ourselves with these things so that our family has the optimal protection that it can have while we or our children are online. Another helpful tip is to have different profiles for different household members. If you use TV streaming services, set up those different profiles for maybe mom and dad and the kids, so that your child is less likely to come across inappropriate programs. I've noticed that there are a lot more shows and movies on streaming platforms such as Netflix and Hulu and Prime Video and others that are rated MA for mature audience. And a lot of these have very sexually explicit information, profanity, violence, things that we don't necessarily want our elementary kids especially viewing or being exposed to. So if there are different household profiles, then if they have a child profile, those things would be filtered out and they would not be able to access that content. There we go. It's moving very slowly today. Okay, and finally, blocking in-app purchases and disabling one-click payment options on your device is another helpful tip for keeping yourself safe, in the sense that it can damage you financially if our kids are accidentally or maybe even on purpose making purchases that we have not authorized. I heard a news story a few months ago of a 4-year-old who purchased over $1,000, maybe even $2,000, I don't know, worth of popsicles. And so again, if our kids have free access to our devices and we haven't blocked certain things, then it could be a very expensive mistake for our family. Okay. So talking with your child about appropriate and inappropriate online behavior will help them learn how to be responsible and safe online. So things you can discuss include the power of their words. So I always tell kids, our words are kind of like a superpower. What we say can either help somebody to feel good and to feel better about themselves, or to feel bad and feel worse about themselves and really hurt their self-esteem. So encourage your child not to say anything online that they wouldn't say face-to-face with somebody. People often feel really emboldened behind their keyboard because there's that barrier to that person, but the words that are typed are just as damaging and hurtful, whether they're typed or they're said online. So really help them to be mindful of the things that they are putting out there into the internet. Okay. Also discuss with them the risks of online sharing. Explain that photos, videos, comments, anything that they post can literally be out there forever. Even if they delete it, others can screenshot it and save it. And so really, once something is out there, it has the potential of being out there forever. And so they just need to be really careful then about what they're posting. And that's why we're not encouraging certain social media platforms for really young kids, because they don't necessarily have that maturity, that responsibility, the ability to think through what they're posting before they do it, and it can lead to some really negative results for them. So urge them to think twice before they share anything online. Come on. Okay, there we are. Whew. And then finally, discuss cyberbullying. So cyberbullying is online bullying that includes sending or posting mean, harmful content about somebody. This includes messages, posts, embarrassing or private pictures. So ask your child to think about how they would feel if this happened to them. Teach them to treat others with respect, and discuss what they can do if they see or experience online bullying. For example, you could encourage them not to respond to the hurtful comments or the hurtful posts, not to share it with others, not to share it with another child, but to reach out to a trusted adult. Maybe you can show them the post so that they can do the proper reporting, whether it's to the host site for inappropriate comments or whether it's to a family member of a child who might be posting hurtful things. But encourage your child to share that with you, but not necessarily to share that with other students, because it tends to be not helpful in that situation. All right, so as we wrap up today, I'll say it again. The internet is a wonderful, powerful tool. It has enhanced our lives in countless ways. At the same time, it has also been misused and dangerous. So as parents and caregivers, there are many things we can do to help our kids learn to navigate this tool and to stay safe online and to use the internet in a responsible way. If you are interested in creating a family media plan and you need some assistance, don't forget to click on that link below in the description, in the video description. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope that this will be helpful in a way to keep your family and your children safe online. Thanks.